Hello, friends, and Ochart here, and I am glad you're here. Welcome to tonight's Cichlids and Suds, different from Cichlids and coffee. And I hope you're having a cold one wherever you are. And hey, Craig's in the house. Donegar, Craig's Catfish Cave. I like it. My cat Max is in the house. Love all these names. Hey, Salient. Good to have you here. And Salient Aquatics in the house. I am looking at the chat here, waiting for folks to get on the stream. Cichlid Kings, hey, buddy. Cichlid Kings is a moderator. Helps to keep you all in line. Hey, Jeff. Jeff Hester's in the house. And Carpet Man is here. Cheers to you, my friend. Cheers to you too, Bruce Leroy. And Medco74, happy evening to you as well. All right. Chris G, Twisted Adjust. Now, did I ask you, Twisted Adjust, if you're a chiropractor? Because that be a great name for a chiropractor. All right. Mountaintop Puffer Keeper. Love that name. Glad you made it. Glad you're here as well. So tonight is a bit more of a casual type of live stream. Hey, Sean. Glad you're here, buddy. And Andrew Anderson has jumped on. JTI Aquatics is here. Hello to you too, my friend. And Thomas Medina in the house. Hey, Paul, Inventory King. How you doing, buddy? Check out Inventory King if you want to see the most amazing plumbing job I've ever seen in my life on his saltwater setup. And he used to be all in with African cichlids, and then he went over to the salty side. Nothing wrong with that. And we must rebel. Ben and gang looking and sounding good. Okay, good. So are you telling me that the AV is good? If you are, I appreciate that. So Robert Reed also in the house. Hello to you. And HOVD, Hovid Aquatics. Hey to you too as well, my friend. And Hell's Bells in the house. So that ringing you hear is Hell's Bells. And over in New Zealand. Wow. Boy, I'd love to visit your country someday. All right. So today's live stream, apart from being satisfying to the taste buds, is going to be really driven by you folks and the things that you'd like to talk about, what you have your attention on. And I've been preparing to leave, and I'm happy to say that every one of my aquariums is checked out and tested and water cleaned, and water changed, and right spot, right on the numbers. So now it's up to my son, who's going to be watching my fish in my absence. So and I haven't installed a camera yet. You know, I have that camera that was sent to me. I have to do a review on it, actually, and where I can actually see the fish room from anywhere in the world just using my phone. So I'm going to have to just rely on his secondhand account, but he's very reliable. And his girlfriend, who has watched the house before when we've taken trips, will actually be with him. So I've got a backup in case he sleeps in. But I tell you, I must have spent probably, I'd say between 5 and 6 hours of, just, cleaning and vacuuming. And I didn't really do much work on filters. I did change out some socks on the sumps, but it was just really just routine maintenance kind of stuff, right? Cleaning the inside of the glass and doing water changes. And it, but I tell you, at the end of it, it was very, very satisfying. And I tell you that probably the most difficult one to clean is the 5-gallon baby pleco tank. Plecos are just absolute pigs. They produce 3 times as much in poop weight compared to the amount of food that they eat. I don't know how they do it. It's a miracle of science or a unexplained. For every 5 ounces, they produce 15 ounces of poop. And so it's amazing what goes on there. So, but anyway, I got them all. Hey, Jerry, glad you're here, buddy. Here on my phone for now. Now, if you folks don't follow Jerry's Fish Room, be sure to check it out. He just got a 180-gallon aquarium from Glass Cages. And Jerry, I'm excited. I'm like excited, you know, vicariously, you know, on the side looking in, right? I'm just really excited about what's going on there. So, Saline Aquatics, my Oscar keeps playing with my heater. You know how big they are, scared, going to break it. This is why when you have big fish, you really need those heaters that are wrapped in plastic. I'll show you one that is almost indestructible. Hold on. When you have big fish, you know, you got to think in terms of that they're going to be banging into it. You know, some they'll get into a chase, and anyway, look at this thing here. It's wrapped in a heavy-duty plastic, and it gives you a great digital display both inside the aquarium and outside of the aquarium. It's the HG921 800-watt Higer. And so inside the aquarium, you get a nice readout of your temperature. Then on the outside, you have this unit that you can use to adjust and calibrate and things like that. So it's a very heavy-duty unit. And, you know, the quartz glass, like the old Eheims, those are pretty rugged and a fish would but I really think that they would shatter or crack before something like this would crack, wrapped in a heavy-duty plastic. So this is what's going to be going into the 300 on the inside of the aquarium, and then on the inside of the sump when it gets real cold. And real cold here, we can get down to 10 degrees here in Nashville, believe it or not. So on the inside of the sump, there's going to be a titanium, just a very small, narrow titanium heater that'll fit inside that 40 breeder. And then on the inside of the aquarium, probably in the back right-hand corner where you will not be able to see it really, is going to be that Higer battleship 800-watt. The one inside the aquarium, I think, is going to be 1,000 watts, and then 800 inside, about 1,800 watts. So when you buy a controller, if you have a big tank like this, you're heating this much water. When you buy a controller, you have to make sure that the controller is rated high enough for the amount of watts you're going to be plugging into it. So I need a controller that can handle 1,800 watts. And some controllers, like some of your smaller Inkbirds, things like that, might be rated up to 1,200 or 1,500 watts. So you just got to be aware of that when you have a controller, if you're getting up there close to 2,000 watts, don't burn out your controller, because you'll have other issues. So for those of you not familiar, a controller is just something that will cut off all power to your heaters when you hit the target temperature, and that prevents your heaters from just going off, you know, having a problem with their thermostat, and sometimes they have these points that somehow get hot and connect and then don't disconnect, and so the heater will stay on, and it will just heat up your tank to, you know, 95 or more degrees, and that's not good. Yes, I do recommend, because the unit that sits on the outside is not technically a controller. It's really a readout. And they put some of the controls that would normally be inside the heater and make the heater really big, you know. So they put some of those controls inside of that unit that hangs outside. So it allows you to have a smaller unit inside the tank, but it just works the way a heater works. It heats to the temp that you say you want it to heat to, and if those points get stuck, it will continue to heat up and burn your cook your fish. The Heigers, interestingly enough, the Heigers, it's the only heater I've ever had that when I ran the water level down, it actually was issuing a flashing light that my water level had gotten too low. And so I really like that. I really like that it actually, and then what it does is if you don't correct it, it actually shuts itself off. The heater will shut off if your water level goes too low. I know more heaters now do that. They have auto shut off. And so do some of the aquarium pumps now, where before if there was a problem with your sump, let's say, and your pump and your water level went down, your pump would just overheat and maybe even catch fire, right? So now these pumps will detect that the water level's down or the temperature in the pump is getting too high, and the pump just shuts off. I think the got this edge of the carpet that keeps rolling my chair off of it. I think that the Shisei pumps, I believe, have auto shut off, where those, and it may be related to temperature, where it detects that the water isn't cooling the pump, and so it shuts it off, prevents you from having a fire or burning out your pump altogether. So there you go. So let me see here. If you folks want to throw some questions at me, we'll go ahead and start fielding questions and just keep this in the realm of what you have on your mind. I want to show you one thing, though, here. Salient Aquatics, Jesse Klein. There we go. Sent me a picture. There's a mug and a tee. He's got his Garage Gang t-shirt on and his mug. Thank you for sending me that picture there, Jesse. Good looking tanks. That's one of the biggest plecos I've seen in a home aquarium. That's a big boy right there on the right. So thank you for sending me that, Jesse. I appreciate you sending me that photo. And the Oscar mugs and teas are now available at the Teespring store. Those are a new mug that I showed you on Saturday, I believe. So if you want to go to the Teespring store and grab an Oscar mug, it helps the channel. This is the Teespring banner, and I'll show you that's the link to the Teespring store. Move it up there. And another way to help the channel is you can visit the Amazon store. And if you go to Amazon for anything, doesn't matter if it's to go to my store or for anything you get on Amazon, you can it gives a credit to the channel. So it's kind of cool. You can anything you buy on Amazon would give a credit to the channel if you got there using the Amazon.com shop Ben Ochart link. So quick little plug there. Also a big shout out to the Cichlid Shack, the sponsor of the channel. Use Shack Attack 15 for fish orders over 100 for 15% off. The discount code does not apply to shipping. Use Shack Attack 10 for products, equipment that he sells, meds and food. He sells Extreme. He has Piscine Energetics. He has a lot of my favorite foods there. And so use those discount codes. Take advantage of them while I'm still offering them. Also, a big shout out to my wonderful moderators. And you know who they are. All right, let's get back to you and what's on your mind. Somebody's here from Sydney. Richie's DIY Fish Room, all the way from Sydney. That's awesome. Thank you for joining us. What time is it over there? Let me know. All right, let's see here. Paul, message retracted. Paul, you getting yourself in trouble there? Or that was retracted, I guess. That was you took it down. All right, let's pick up some questions here. DOMs? No, I don't. I don't have. I think you're referring to Lawanda. I don't have that. I have had them, and they're very pretty fish. And I think I end up selling it in California. Mine was a little bit. Mine was a little bit. It was an aggressive fish, if I remember correctly. 10:16 a.m. in Sydney. Okay, well that's not too bad. That's not too bad. It's almost like you're sitting in on the Saturday live stream. So you're getting the Saturday time during the Cichlids and Sun live stream. Almost hour off. All right, very good. Chris G, why are you drinking? Well, I made that banner. I made the Cichlids and Sud banner when I was in Ireland. And in Ireland, you respect the black. They call that beer the black. And it's delicious. I can't drink Stella here in the States. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't. I can't drink the Irish beer here in the States because it tastes totally different. And so I went ahead and used a graphic that I picked up there in Ireland and made that. But you know, Stella it's a great beer. If you like a light beer, I'm not sponsored by Stella. Can't go wrong with it. So let's see. Dom's RC, I'm in, okay. All over the world. I think it looks like I'm getting folks from further away in the evening. Maybe that's because of the time difference. Well, let's take a look here. Bruce, I do think that the phosphorus pads, I think they helped. It tended to stop and sort of like slow it down and stop it in some cases, not let it get worse. I have since pulled them out of the 90, and I've noticed that my artificial plant is getting brown algae faster than it was before. So I've tried it with and without, and I think that they actually made a difference. So was my experiment entirely scientific? No, it wasn't. Very anecdotal. I would say buy a pack, try them out from Aquarium Co-op, make up your own mind about them. At this stage, I'm not going to tell you that they're going to solve all of your algae problems, but I don't think it hurt. I think it actually arrested or slowed down the algae growth. Renee from Eastern Canada. That's awesome. Very cool. All right. Thomas Medina. I have been really captivated by the Vieja cichlids and the different varieties. Thomas, they're beautiful. Really, really pretty. I wish I could have kept that blue one that I had, but he was just a complete jerk. And I understand that type of cichlid are known for that. But the one I have the one I have in the one that I have in the 210, I'm laughing because he just swam upside down to get under a piece of wood. He actually went completely upside down, went under it and back up. Hilarious. Anyway, he's the biggest fish. He's probably the boss right now. Nobody messes with him. I mean, he's got to be pushing 10, maybe 11 inches. So he's really gone through a growth spurt. Picked him up at about 4 inches, maybe. And I just love his attitude. So I would say, yeah, get into Viejas, jump in with both feet. They're beautiful fish. And I just hope you have a big tank. They get very, very large. And I would say probably 150 gallons or more would be a good size, especially if you have several of them. Now, I don't know how they do when they get into breeding. I imagine, like a lot of cichlids, they would become very territorial and maybe a little violent if they pair up. So again, like I tell every person who keeps cichlids, have a spare tank ready. You gotta have another tank. Hey, Kathy, over in Melbourne. Hope you're doing well, Kathy. Hope things in Australia are returning to normal. I know you folks had some pretty serious lockdowns out there. I hope life is returning to normal. At least that's what I understood. I mean, the news we get here, who knows? Who knows? I'm not sure if I trust any news these days. So, Mr. Kev Inc. J, Kevin J, 2002. Vieja, not vieja. Well, the spelling of it, if you use the Spanish, is vieja. It is the spelling of essentially an old lady in Spanish is pronounced vieja. Now you're saying it's vieja with a B sound. I have not heard that before. So let's see here. Thomas Medina, I have a 125 now, but I'm going for a 240. Yeah, 240 would be great. Mine's in a 210 right now. I think that's going to be enough. Of course, we got 2 Oscars in there, a couple chocolates. So I'll probably add some red hooks. So it'll get a little crowded in there, especially with that big piece of lumber running right through the middle of it, right? Okay, good, Kathy. That's good to know. Yeah, I was getting different reports, about the situation there, and I heard in some towns it got a little drastic. All right, let's see here. I'm looking at the chat. I'm cruising the chat. Hey, Daniel. Good to see you. Glad to be here on a Wednesday night. I'm glad you're here. MedCow74 drinking a Sam Adams Oktoberfest. Stella makes a good cider as well. Good to know. Sam Adams is great. It is a great choice. Something I'll certainly pick up. All right, let's see. Jay Fuller, what do you know about Bolivian rams? I have 6 in a 20 long. Now one has started to bully the rest. 3 are hiding. 1 comes out anyway. If you folks on the chat here know about rams, can you help Jay out? I've had rams before, and it's one of those fish where, and I'm crossing my fingers right now about the red spotted severums, but it's kind of like red spotted severums for me. I've had a hard time keeping them for a long period of time. Maybe it's water temperature issues or water hardness issues, but I've had gold, I've had blue, right? And they're beautiful fish. Love the way they move. I like the color patterns on their bodies, and I just haven't really had a lot of luck with them. But if you folks know much about rams, can you go ahead and chime in and help Jay out? Regina, keep a lookout for the, and it's going to sound a little gross, but keep a lookout for the poop. Be on poop patrol on that discus and see what the poop looks like. Is it like long and stringy and a little maybe translucent parts, and it just doesn't look right? It should be like plump and in short amounts, not long, drawn out. Just look for the poop on that discus, and also see if that discus might be poking around and eating off of the bottom. I have my Jack Dempsey. My Jack Dempsey is like that, and he'll go up to the food and look, but he never has his belly never gets sunken, and he looks good, so. He's pecking off the bottom. So I make sure that I throw enough in the far ends of the tank that actually sinks down so he can get to it. And I think he's eating when everyone else is done. He doesn't like the big, everybody like the big mob scene at the feeding, especially now that I've added the Oscars. The Salvini is an insane eater, and so I think he just likes to stay out of the way, and when everybody's done, he just goes around, pecks around. Hopefully that's what's going on. If you suspect parasites, there are two schools of thought, and you folks on the chat can chime in. Some people say if a fish has parasites, pull them out, put them in a hospital tank, and treat them. Other folks say no. When there's parasites, more than likely the entire tank has it to some degree, so treat the entire tank. Now, that can get real expensive if you've got them in a big tank. So, you folks on the chat, if one fish looks like they have parasites, but the other ones look healthy, fat and sassy, like she said, what do? Do you pull the one fish out and treat it in a hospital tank, or do you treat the whole tank? Let's get your take on that. Go ahead and comment in the chat. Dave Rice comes in with a super chat. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Super chats are ways of throwing a little money. Throwing a little money at the channel. I appreciate that. Now, okay, so the consensus here, treat the whole tank, treat them all, be safe. Better safe than sorry. I treat the whole tank, Daniel Barrett. Jerry says go to hospital tank. Whole tank from Mountaintop Puffers. Clarity says the whole tank. Salient says, I imagine that's treat the whole tank. So, hey, Aquarium Co-op in the house. Glad you're here, buddy. Good to see you. Yeah, that morning time doesn't work for everybody. This time obviously works a little better. Thanks for coming. Jay says he treats the whole tank. Yeah, that's a tough one because if they're in a 100-gallon, let's say, and you're treating them with something like, let's say, Fritz Paracleanse, you're going to go through a very, very large amount. You might want to start off, and again, do some research on this. I'm not sure. Can you use salt? Can you use a very light salt treatment on discus, or is that something you wouldn't do with discus? Because that would certainly be one way you could go. Now, before I would do that, I would throw a little food at that discus that is irresistible. Bloodworms, something that's been soaked in garlic, like garlic guard, something like that, something that most fish just simply can't resist no matter how finicky they are. There's a product called Cichlid Delight. It's a frozen cube, Cichlid Delight, and it has garlic in it. It's one of the top ingredients in it, and I fed it to fish that were finicky, and they went nuts on it. So before I get into that, I would try something that's really irresistible. Now, Aquarium Co-op, Prezi Pro would be a much cheaper way to go to treat 100 gallons. There you go. Prezi Pro. And I bet you $1 Aquarium Co-op has it in stock right now. So, I think I'm going to get some of that Prezi Pro because you got to treat so much with that Paracleanse. So good tip from Aquarium Co-op. Kathy Duro, she is pushing for everyone to hit that like button. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. Sean says try freeze-dried black worms. Yeah, the worms. My fish go nuts on worms, and that's one food that the Jack Dempsey in the 210 will actually go after and compete for. Whereas the other foods, he just, hey, when you pigs are done, I'll get some. On worms, he jumps in and we'll go after it. So, yeah, frozen worms. I imagine if you have somewhere that has brine, or again, looking at what is offered by Aquarium Co-op, they do have the system where you can actually hatch your own brine, and so that might be something that discus will start to eat. That's pretty irresistible. Regina, I have Prezi Pro that I bought from you. There we go. We're just one big happy family here. All right. Thank you, Cichlid Kings, for sharing the Aquarium Co-op link. And let's see. I'm going back over the questions. And Jerry says that salt is okay for discus. That's be a nice sort of a laxative, just help kind of clean out the system. So there are some sort of gentle approaches that you can use initially. And you probably know this already, Regina, but really be sure to pull out any chemical filtration, your activated carbon, before you treat at all. And when you're done treating, throw some fresh carbon in there, and I leave it in there for a month after adding meds, and then I toss it, just so it can absorb any residual meds that might be in the tank. Prezi Pro. See, I've been using Paraclans. I got to look. I'm always be learning, my friends. All right, let's see here. It looks like Mountaintop Puffer Keeper. I've been using the garlic extract to condition puffers to foods as well. Gives them a scent indicator. Now, what garlic extract are you using? Is it like one made for fish or something that you're making yourself? I'm curious, what kind of garlic extract is that Mountaintop Puffer Keeper? Hey, Zen Ginger in the house. So glad to see you here. Haven't seen you in a while. I see you when I lurk other live streams like Bob's. Sometimes John and I'll look around. I'll say, hey, there's Zen Ginger. Where was she on Saturday? I get it. It's not an easy time. Hey, Frank. Frank in the house hits me with a $9.99. Thank you. Muchas gracias, amigo. A tu salud. Perfect, Regina. That's exactly what you need to do. I tend to throw out my carbon after a while. I've heard, and I haven't done the science on this, but I've heard if you use carbon for a certain amount of time, it will become completely exhausted and saturated. And if you just leave it in there forever, and again, I haven't done the science on this, but I've heard that it will actually then start to release some of the things that it's been saturated with over time, which makes sense. We just start to break up a little bit. So it's probably a good idea to swap out your carbon every now and then. The carbon I use, of course, if you watch the channel, I use the Seachem Matrix. That carbon absorbs like nothing I've ever seen before. It's not necessarily cheap, but you can buy it in a larger container. Will save you money, and just put it into a fine mesh pouch. Give it a good rinse and throw it in, and it'll do the job. Saline Aquatics got bit by an Oscar. It's my tiger Oscar that jumps up and bites me. The albino stays back. The albino, though, is more the jerk of the two Oscars. The albino, which kind of goes in line with some of the videos I put out before about how albinos are crazy, but I saw him the other day trying to beat up one of the chocolate cichlids. But it was temporary during a water change. Fish get fired up during water changes. And then he calmed down a little bit, but I was getting a little bit concerned. I was thinking I was going to have to fish him out of there and put him in a little basket or something. So, but he calmed down, and now he's just running around the tank with the tiger Oscar again. Now, when I first got that albino, I was under the impression it was a lemon, and then somebody corrected me and said that it was. Let me see if I can get him on the camera. Not sure if you can see, and let me go ahead and go to a different screen, make it easier. There he is. You see them there on the left. It's on the left side of the screen I'm looking at. Not sure if it'd be on the left side of your screen. But that little albino is the jerk of the two Oscars. Look at the size of that vieja. Put my hand over there, you can get a perspective. The vieja is just a beast. Big, beautiful beast. The Salvini chases, but he's not biting. So fingers crossed that Salvini actually stays mellow. I heard when they get older, they get some pretty nice teeth. So, but at any rate, the red tiger is the one that will jump up and actually grab food from my hand. The other day, somebody commented under one of my videos, one of my live streams. They said, "You know, Ben, you should have a stage hands and assistants that help you with the moving of lights, so that you don't have to get up and move lights and get things." And I'm a one-man show. That's not a lot of room in this fish room for a lot of personnel either. So. Chris G, better late than never. That's okay. Let's see. Whips World in the house. Cichlids and Suds. That's right, my friend. What are you drinking? Thomas Medina. Beautiful vieja. I have one too. He is half the size of yours. They grow very, very quickly. He was around, 5 and 6 inches, somewhere there for what seemed like a real long time. And then all of a sudden he just exploded in size. And it seemed to me to be a bit related to removing that super aggressive vieja, the blue one that I had. I think it was a Zonatus, Vieja Zonatus. Taking that one out, it just kind of really reduced the stress on that vieja. Now, see, now I'm wondering, is it really vieja? See, my first language is Spanish, and in Spanish, it's definitely vieja. And so maybe they're pronouncing it vieja. I don't know. I get accused of butchering words quite frequently. Things like she say and... All right. Whips World, drinking dragon's milk. Local brewery, no doubt. All right, let's see here. Jerry's Fish Room having his Yuling now that he finished his water change. Very smart. Don't drink and do water changes. I had a story from one person one time told me they'd had a few drinks and they lost their balance and they grabbed onto the top edge of the aquarium, and you know how the story ends. And so the takeaway was, don't drink until you're done with your water changes. Mexicali Fish Keeper in the house. Did I do a shout out to you already, my friend? And Craig Doniger. Okay, Craig's Catfish. Okay, you're just saying hi to people. I get it. Kathy Doro, I started a new tank and put a cycled sponge filter into it. How long will it stay cycled for? How long do I have before I need to put fish into it? 1 week, 1 month. I can't decide the fish I want. I would go ahead and get a fish in there as soon as possible. I mean, you need to feed the bacteria, right? And what feeds them is ammonia. And that's the ammonia that's produced right from the waste from the food and the waste of the fish. So I'd get one in there as soon as you can, and you can always get like something that you're gonna get at some point. Maybe get a bushy nose pleco or something like that you're gonna pick up down the road anyway. A Cynodontis catfish, something you can just throw in there. Maybe move some fish from another tank, put them in there, then before you get the fish for that tank, move them out. I mean, a lot of ways to do it, but don't go too long. I wouldn't go for over a month. And if you did have to wait a long time, I'd probably throw in some more media, or maybe put in some bacteria in a bottle, like a Fritz Zyme or Dr. Tim's or something like that, just to give it a boost. So, and of course, you can test. You can test that water, see what it's looking like. And if it's staying, if those ammonia and nitrite are staying, are staying at zero, with between 10 and 30 nitrate, I mean, who cares? You probably have a good situation. Do you still ship stickers? Yes, I do, Louis. Anybody who wants some stickers, just send me an email to ben.o.cichlid. I think I need to reorder, so you're not going to get them immediately, but I will send you stickers. ben.o.cichlid, and just put on the subject line, stickers. Be sure to include your full name and address. And so I will get those to you. All right, I'm cruising for questions. Go ahead and give me your questions, folks. I will go ahead and answer any fish-related questions that I feel comfortable answering. If I don't, I'll tell you. I will not guess or make up answers. Jerry's Fish Room, been a rough 2 days, bought a couple discus online and not doing well. Sorry to hear that, Jerry. I mean, it's been like the best of times and the worst of times. I mean, you pick up a 180-gallon, beautiful, custom-made aquarium, and you've had some die-offs. Just odd the way things go like that, right? Just this sort of ebb and flow. So if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, visit Jerry's Fish Room. You'll see some stuff he's been going through, especially on a breeding project that went sideways in a very bad way. So my cat Max, 3 peacocks, looking to get 2 or 3 more in a 54-gallon. Thinking about rainbows for ditherfish. I haven't used ditherfish with African cichlids only because I think they would get destroyed. But I know some people out there, if you look on YouTube, you will see some folks with some wild mixes of fish. And they'll have Africans mixed with South Americans, and they'll have, I mean, you just throw it all together. So Jerry, you and I can talk. We'll talk on the phone, and I'll definitely give you some tips. Having gone through setting up so many here, I'll share with you what to do, and I'll definitely share with you what not to do. I had to return, let's see, 350 pounds of play sand to Home Depot. So, as well as about $200 in plumbing, odds and ends I ended up not using. So, anyway, been there, done that. I'll be happy to talk with you, Jerry, and give you some tips. A lot of it's going to have to be driven by what you're going to be stocking it with, what kind of filtration you're going to have, where is the tank. I mean, it's going to be in a room that's air conditioned and heated, things of that nature. Do you want to go with a deep substrate? Do you want to go with a regular substrate? Do you want gravel? Do you want sand? I mean, I'm loving the deep substrate now that these tanks have become more established. They're just, like I mentioned in that bulletproof aquarium live stream. I mean, now that they've become established, they're just really, they just seem to me like they're really healthy. Take a look at the 90-gallon here right next to me, looking really good. Got to move some of the lighting. Hold on. Where's my stage crew? Says 90 has a deep substrate. It's being run off of two Marineland Emperor 400 hang-on backs. It's got an air stone in there that's being driven by a lithium battery air pump, so the tank will get 48 hours of air in the event of a power outage. There's some Mopani wood in there, one of those old elite cichlid plants, and some beautiful stones that I picked up at the local fish store at the Critter, and also there's a cave in there from underwater galleries. So I think that the amount of substrate in that tank has really helped it to be stable. I'm hoping I get a similar result in the 300. 300 has a tremendous amount of substrate, but it's aragonite and crushed coral primarily. Get the lighting set up. Stage hands are asleep at the wheel. Can't get good help anymore. All right. Okay, let's see here. I'm looking at your Whip Swirl. What are you talking about, Whip Swirl? Bull shark, freshwater dolphin. Who wears the crown? Well, I know bull sharks getting up into the freshwater ways. I've heard of shark attacks up in rivers. I tell you, I'd be very reluctant to swim in any water formation in Florida, because the shark doesn't get you, an alligator will. So. Richard, it's Richard Lewis, ben.o.cichlid. ben.o.cichlid at Gmail. That's a Gmail address. Carpet Man, you know, I put the fluval output, but you see, it depends what else you're using. The fluval output behind me is like right in the middle, and I've got those two, I got the two return lock line, the two flexible lock lines coming in from each end of the tank, creating a lot of movement and surface tension breakup in the middle. So there was really no other place except right smack in the middle to put the return, the intake and the return. They're sort of up, separated by about 5 inches. A lot of circulation going on, and so it's going to pick up what it picks up. And I do love the pre-filter on it. That allows me to go for about 9 months between cleanings on that FX6. Every week or two, all I do is rinse out the sponge. I just rinse it under tap water. There's so much. It's not going to disrupt a 300-gallon tank, I assure you, to do that. But you want to create circulation and a sort of a confluence, where currents kind of run into each other, and ideally, break up the surface for oxygen, right? But also, you want to stir up the bottom a little bit so that some of the detritus gets moved into the intakes of the filters. Now, some people would rather do that on a controlled basis, so they don't have stuff floating around all the time. So maybe use your outputs for surface agitation, and then put something like a wave maker 2/3 of the way down, pointed slightly downward, and use that to sweep up the bottom for you on a timer. So it goes on maybe a couple hours in the morning and maybe a couple hours in the evening. Have it off when the fish are sleeping, and that tends to work. That tends to work. If you want to, Jerry, let me see. Was that an older question? On your tank, Jerry? I think it'd be better if we just talk on the phone, and we can take a look at what's going on, and that's how I'd like to help you on that. Whip swirl. Is that the beer talking? Is that the dragon's milk talking there? All right. I got it. I get it. Okay. Well, Daniel, if you're Daniel Barrett wants to add 40 pounds of aragonite substrate to an established 75, something like that, you could probably do it and just get it over with. It's removing substrate and taking out the beneficial bacteria with it. That's where you can create some problems. Adding, that shouldn't be too bad. You might want to consider using a siphon tube. I know it sounds a little bit odd, but you get a nice siphon tube, right? Like an either Aqueon or Python siphon tube, and you just fill it. And you can use anything just to get the substrate in there. Then you can just kind of direct the siphon tube to the area in the tank you want to drop it, and it just drops right into that area. And you don't stir up a lot of stuff that way. And it's an easy way. It's an easy way to do it. It's a little bit time consuming. I mean, it's easier just, of course, get a bucket and just pour it all in, right? But you're gonna have dust for days. And so I used I would fill up a siphon tube. I also used a siphon tube to remove a lot of the aragonite that was in the 210 and bring it over here. I would just sort of drag it like a torpedo just below the surface. And then I'd pull out the tube, walk 2 steps over to 300, and then just let it dump out, and then repeat the process. You can only imagine how many times I had to do that. But yeah, I would imagine just doing it and doing it in a way that's the least disruptive to the fish in the tank and is going to kick up the least amount of dust. Whatever dust does get kicked up, it's going to be cleared up. If you have good filtration, it's going to be cleared up pretty quickly. I would suggest that maybe consider throwing a piece of pinky floss or prib batting, some kind of a polishing. Put that in your filter while you're doing it, and then when you're all done, wait for about 4 or 5 hours. Then just pull that out, and what that will do is it'll have caught a lot of the dust particles, and then put a fresh one in. But that will kind of speed up clearing up the tank. Also, and I'm not really a big guy on chemical filtration, but your things like Purigen and things like that, boy, that clears up really, really quick. I have Purigen in the tank behind me. When it becomes exhausted, I'm not sure I'm going to keep using it. I think I'll probably just pull it out. I'll probably recharge it just to have it. It's not a bad idea to have it. But I usually don't use carbon and any kind of chemical filtration in my filters once the tanks are established. And this tank here was sort of it's a new tank, but because it got the FX6 off the 210 and about 150 pounds of substrate from the 210, it was sort of like an established tank very early on. So it got a big jump start when you do it that way. Someone says Rico Stan in the house. Hey, Rico Stan, how you doing, buddy? Haven't seen you in a while. I'm telling you, these evenings I get a different crowd. I like it. Desmond Johnson, would covering older Eco Complete with more Eco Complete or a different substrate cover up the beneficial bacteria in an established tank? Well, yes, but how much? How much Eco Complete? I mean, are you capping it with like 2 inches where it's going to be really sealed up? I mean, I imagine what you could do is as you're putting it on, just sort of rake it a little bit, just give it a rake. So you're kind of blending as you go. And that way you'll get kind of best of both worlds. And that new Eco Complete will, it'll get up to speed very quickly. Now, this is the Eco Complete that comes wet and has beneficial bacteria in it. So you've got a jump start that way too. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. If maybe just give it a little rake it in a little bit, like the way you would blend soil if you were working in a garden, and I think you'll be fine. Hey, Vibes, good to see you there, buddy. Glad you can make it. Chris G, just by you. Chris, you should watch an old video of mine called How the Old Man Recharges Pyrogen. Maybe one of the moderators can pull it up. Oh, right along those lines. But I don't mind recharging it. It's not that hard to do. And but yeah, I heard it exhausts faster and faster and faster. I think you can get 8 recharges, I think was the average, 8 times. But each time the amount of time from being, bleached white to going brown where you need to recharge it, each of those time periods got shorter and shorter and shorter. But it's still, if you're willing to do it, it still comes out to be a lot less expensive than something like Chemipure, where every 6 months you just give it a toss. So, all right. KG Tropicals in the house. We're getting some big names here tonight. We had Corey, and now, is it John or Lisa? No, this is once a month, John or Lisa. I'm not sure who you are. I do a Cichlids and Suds. Cheers, my friend. And while I have you on the line, the beta you sent me, the Nemo Galaxy is just rocking. Built an enormous bubble nest. So I'm assuming that means he's happy. So I did put out a video on Mr. Mustard. We had a bit of a tragedy with Mr. Mustard, but that Nemo Galaxy is absolutely beautiful. My kids fell in love with him. My daughter immediately shouted out, "His name's Picasso." So so he became Picasso. So all right, let's cruise the chat here and see what's happening. And I love the folks that are showing up here. It's John. All right. Good to see you, John. I think I saw you lurking over at Bob's stream the other night. They're making fun about some guy that wanted to get to know you. I don't know if you saw my comment. I think you played along and said, "Oh yeah, what does he look like?" Blah 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 blah. And I said, "Calm down, John." You guys haven't done so, check out John's video. Now, I'm not sure how many videos ago it was, but it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't really, I don't know if you'd call it a rant, but just really kind of setting things straight about fish keepers and responsibility and things of this nature. And I thought it was very well received and very well said. Thomas Medina just ordered some extreme fish food from Super Cichlids. Lisa and her family are the best, Thomas. I really love those guys. They actually are our sponsor for the monthly banner contest at the Ben O apostrophe Cichlid Facebook group. And she always comes through and sends I think she sends a gift certificate to whoever gets the monthly banner. But she's a great gal. All right. Well, Regina, I'll keep coming to the Cichlids and Suds. I'll try and do at least one of them a month. If it gets popular and it gets if it starts to increase and become more popular, I'll maybe do it a couple nights a month. And because it certainly gets a different crowd, and I like the crowd, and it's a little different than coffee on Saturday morning. So. Whip swirl, all right, I'm off like a prom. Oh, whip swirled, all right. Thank you for stopping by, my friend. Now, quick heads up, I have a, let's see here, show you one thing. As you know, there's no live stream this coming Saturday. I'm going to be out of town. And I have a couple videos. You can see them here. Best hang-on back filter tips. Yeah, I've set up a lot of hang-on back filters over the years. And so I have some of the best tips I've come across. I'll be sharing them with you on that video. And I also have 3 tips for moving a fish out from quarantine. And it certainly is not tied to time anymore. It used to be, in my mind, okay, in a month, does he look good? Good. Flop him, put him in the main tank. I now look for some different points, different characteristics, different things, and so go ahead and check out those 2 upcoming videos. I think one will post tomorrow. I think tomorrow we'll do the 3 tips for moving fish out of quarantine, or out from quarantine. And on Saturday morning, I'll do the best hang-on back filter tips. So look for those videos. And I may or may not be checking. I'm not sure I'm going to be in an area that has, that will allow me to get onto the net. We're going to be up in the Kentucky wilderness. So definitely give those videos a boost by watching them. And if I don't respond to a comment, I will when I get back on Monday or Tuesday. So, hey, Denny, I posted it at the Facebook site, and I posted it at the community site on YouTube that I was going to be going live tonight. I'm sorry you missed it. I should have sent you a private message on Facebook. I was just so jammed up today that I didn't do some of the usual things I do. Richard Lewis, get an FX6. Don't mess around with anything else. Just go with the 6, because at some point you'll be in a 150, 180, 210. Bring that FX6 over, and then throw a hang-on back, and you'll have plenty for the bigger filters, for the bigger tanks. So yeah, go with the 6. Get them on sale. Check Craigslist. Check Facebook Marketplace. Sometimes you can get them brand new in the box, and look around. Look around. Shop around. They're not cheap. I was talking to James Largo, and he confides in me. He confides in me. He just tells me how it is, right? He doesn't pull any punches, and he showed me the retail and the wholesale. And the wholesale on those FX6s was what they were selling them for about a year ago. It's like it would cost him, and I may not have this exactly right, but if I understood it correctly, I think it would cost him about $325 to sell it to somebody for $345, something like that. I mean, it was like absolutely crazy. Like he had like zero margin, and this is getting it from a giant distributor. So So people that can sell that for less are probably buying 100 of them at a time or something, or I don't know what they're doing, but I was shocked. I was shocked at the wholesale price of FX6s. Neil, Dover in Sydney. Yeah, I understand it's the AM over there. That's great. I like it. Vibes Aquatics says get 2 FX6s. Now, see, Vibes, you think a little bit like me. I like to filter the heck, but you know when you keep the cichlids, African cichlids, they're just pigs, absolutely pigs, and you know with the amount of feeding and the overstocking for aggression, blah blah blah. I imagine the South Americans are probably pigs too. People tell me the Oscars are, when they get bigger, are absolute hogs. So yeah, a little extra filtration. Why not? Hey, Raisin Fishes, thank you, and hello to you, my friend. Joe Cat, I have an FX6 and an FX4 on a 75. My only concern about that would be that the fish are getting blown around a little bit. That's a lot of water movement. But you can on the FX6 you can dial them down a little bit if you want to. And if you don't have big flat fish like angels or discus, things like that, betta, right? They don't like to be blown around. But if you have some good rugged fish in there, they'll love it. Some fish love the current. Edgar, you have to shop around for FX6 replacement parts. I've found them on eBay and also my local fish store here. The Aquatic Critter has a good assortment of all kinds of stuff, from bulkheads and plumbing parts to FX parts, things like that. But sometimes you have to do a search, and I have found that even on places like eBay, the parts can be very expensive. Like let's say you have a valve, an in or out valve from the top that cracks or leaks or whatever. You're going to pay between $25 and $35 probably plus shipping. So not cheap. As a matter of fact, I put out a video one time that probably upset the people at Fluval, but I said that if you buy an FX6, at the same time buy a purge valve and one of the top in and out valves and an O-ring, because it just operates under so much pressure and it's going 24/7. I mean, imagine running your engine in your car 24/7. You would definitely have, a lot of cans of oil and belts and all kinds of stuff, spark plugs. You'd have stuff laying around because you're going to need them. So we run these things around the clock. So don't be surprised if you need replacement parts. Desert Fish Keeper, that you're outside of the my realm of expertise, and you don't want to talk to me about electric blue Jack Dempsey's. That's a sensitive area for me. All right, let's see. Richard Lewis, do you put extra things in your FX? I wanted to actually do this last FX exclusively as sponges, and because they're great. They polish. They're a great home for beneficial bacteria. I was going to go all sponges. However, I had a big bag of Sarah and what is it called? I got Ciporax, Siporax. I have a big box up there on the shelf, Ciporax. So I had this extra bag of Ciporax. I thought, oh well, let me put that in one of the trays. So I've got some Ciporax in there. Otherwise, it's all sponges, and it does great. It does really, really well. Melissa, sure, email me. ben.o.cichlid@gmail. The Cerasiporax is pricey. It is pricey. But apparently, according to their research, it's not just ceramic, it's or glass. It's actually some kind of a special combination of ingredients. And they assured me that I would be very happy with the results. I have a whole bunch of it in the actually in the 40-gallon breeder under the 300. For those of you that haven't seen the interview with the Sarah and the two reps from Sarah, I was very, very impressed with those gentlemen, and the backstory of Sarah is very, very interesting. Over 50 years of lots of research, and so I'm kind of a Sarah believer. I came away that way. I came away feeling that way also when I spoke to the founder and current owner of Piscine Energetics. Just very dedicated, not a scientist necessarily, but somebody who just really knew his stuff and was very committed to quality. Daniel Barrett, I took your advice by keeping a spare aquatop valve for the FX6. Glad I did, because it started to leak. I was able to replace immediately. I'll tell you, it's when it comes to filters, it's kind of like parachutes, you know? It's when you need one, you really need one. And when they go, they go. And so you can't be waiting around or hoping the local fish store has it, or, I mean, and so when people buy Sun, for example, Sun canisters, the price point used to be so low on them that I'd tell people, look, buy two, one that you'll use and one that you can cannibalize. And that way you'll just have a whole, you know, all the spare parts you need in the closet. So you need them right away. You got to have them. Zen Ginger, always loves Sarah Foods. Onips are the best for some picky eaters. I'm a Sarah convert ever since I started using their test kit for my planted fish tanks. You know what? I've got to talk to him about that test kit. I took a look at it one time, and I think I was really impressed. I think Sarah came out with a new one. I think even Fluval had a new test kit at one point. And I became a little bit disenchanted with the master test kit. And I just started getting results that were just contradictory from Salifert, other kits I was using. I think I put a video out on it where I compared, and the master test kit was giving me really high nitrate readings where the other ones were not. So anyway. So I think we're about 15 minutes over on the hour. Went dark. I like that. So thank you, everybody, for spending an hour with me tonight. And I'll repeat, on Saturday, there's not going to be a live stream, but I will be back the following Saturday. Watch for the 2 upcoming videos. I hope you like them. And if there are no vital questions, we will go ahead and end off. And nobody can nurse a beer like me. I'm the cheapest date in the world. Thank you, everybody, for sitting in. You are the best. You rock. And thank you so much for the support and encouragement. And I'll see you all again soon. Let's go ahead and end off.